All right, so today we're diving into Neom. Have you heard about this thing?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a ski resort in Saudi Arabia. It's
It's
wild.
like they took every futuristic idea and just, like, crammed it all into one place.
Like they're trying to make like a real life Sim City or something.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
on a scale, I mean, we're talking the size of Belgium here.
Yeah, and it's not all just, like, flash and hype either.
Right.
There's some serious substance behind this. They're talking about 100% renewable energy, like, for the whole city.
It's okay.
A city that size.
That's mind-boggling. The technology alone, like,
It's still being developed.
yeah, it's like some next level stuff. So where do we even begin with this?
Well, I think to understand Neom, you got to understand Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030.
Okay.
This whole plan to basically wean the country off oil,
Right.
diversify the economy, invest in all these new sectors like tech and tourism.
So Neom is like the poster child for that vision.
Exactly. It's not just about economics, though. It's about reimagining how we live, how
Yeah.
cities function.
Okay, so it's like a social experiment as much as an economic one.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, let's get into some of these specific projects because I have to admit, when I first read about the line, I was like, what?
Yeah.
A 170-kilometer long city? How does that even work?
No cars,
Right.
car free.
Everything within a 5-minute walk.
Okay, but 5-minute walk from what to what? Like, how do you get around in a city that long?
Think high-speed rail,
Okay.
running the entire length, and then you have these autonomous pods for personal transport.
Like little self-driving taxis or something.
Exactly.
Wow. So no traffic jams in that line.
Not if they can pull it off.
Right. But even with all that, 9 million people crammed into this narrow strip of land.
That's where the vertical design comes in.
Vertical design.
Yeah. It's going to be layered,
Layered.
residential, commercial, recreational spaces, all stacked on top of each other.
Like a giant layer cake.
Kind of too. But wouldn't that be incredibly claustrophobic?
Well, they're banking on those efficient transport systems
Right.
to keep things moving smoothly.
Okay, so it's a dense, but hopefully not too crowded. All right. So the line is all about rethinking urban living on land. But then there's Oxagon, which is a floating city, a floating industrial city. Like, how do you even build a city that floats?
That's the big question. It's going to be a massive engineering feat.
Yeah, no kidding. But what's the point of making it float?
Well, it's all about maximizing space, minimizing environmental impact.
Okay.
They're calling it a hub for advanced manufacturing.
Advanced manufacturing. What does that even mean?
Think 3D printing,
Okay.
robotics,
Uh-huh.
autonomous systems.
Robot factories and like self-driving delivery drones.
Pretty much.
Wow. So it's like a futuristic factory town, but on water.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of the scale of this whole project. But then we have to talk about Trojana, the mountain resort.
With skiing,
Yeah. Skiing in the desert. How is that even possible?
artificial snow.
Like, they're going to make fake snow?
Uh-huh. And temperature-controlled indoor slopes.
So they're basically building a giant refrigerator in the middle of the desert to make it snow.
It's a little more complicated than that, but
Yeah. I mean, the ambition here is just staggering. But is it all just a bit much?
well, a lot of people are asking that question.
Yeah.
The price tag is estimated at around $500 billion.
500?
Billion.
I don't even know what to compare that to.
It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah. And there's got to be some serious risks involved, right?
Absolutely. Financially, logistically.
Yeah.
And then there's the environmental impact.
Right. Building a megacity in the desert, that can't be good for the ecosystem.
There are definitely concerns about habitat disruption, water usage, the carbon footprint of construction.
Yeah. Even if they're using renewable energy, the sheer scale of it has to have some kind of negative impact.
It's a trade-off.
Right. And then there's the human element, too. I read about the Huetat tribe who are being displaced by the project.
Yeah, that's a whole other layer of complexity.
Yeah. It's a reminder that progress often comes at a cost. And sometimes that cost is paid by the people who are already there.
Exactly.
So Neom is this fascinating but also kind of troubling mix of innovation and, well, potential exploitation.
It's a microcosm of a lot of the challenges facing the world today.
Yeah, it really is. I think we've only just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to unpack.
Oh, yeah.
So in the next part of our deep dive, we'll zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. How might Neom reshape the world as we know it?
That's the big question.
It is. But for now, let's take a break and let all this information sink in a bit.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back.
Yeah, my brain is still like spinning from all that stuff in part one.
Yeah.
I mean, a floating city is seriously.
It's a lot to process for sure.
It's a lot to process for sure. So before we dive into any more of those crazy details, I think we need to zoom out for a minute. What does Neom mean for the rest of the world? Could this actually be a blueprint for future cities?
That's the big question, isn't
Or
it?
is it just a shiny, expensive experiment that's going to flop?
Well, if it succeeds, the impact could be huge.
Right.
Imagine cities all over the world, powered by renewable energy, using all this cutting-edge tech to solve, pollution and overcrowding.
Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty amazing, like a utopia
It's
almost.
the dream.
But what if it fails? What if it becomes this cautionary tale about, you know, technological hubris and wasted resources?
That's a definite risk.
Right.
A project of this scale is bound to have some major challenges,
Fair.
financial ones for sure. And what if the tech doesn't work as planned?
Yeah,
Could be a huge financial burden.
and not just for Saudi Arabia, right?
Exactly. Global investors are pouring money into
So
this.
there's a lot riding on this, not just for NEO, but for the whole idea of sustainable megacities.
I think so.
Okay, so let's talk about the people who'd actually live in Neom. What kind of society are they trying to create?
Well, from what I've read, it's going to be like a hyper-connected society.
Hyper-connected.
Yeah, where data is constantly being collected and analyzed
To be what?
to optimize everything,
Everything.
from traffic flow to energy
Kind
consumption.
of smart city on steroids.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, but doesn't that raise some serious concern about privacy? I mean, how much data collection is too much?
Yeah, that's a big question.
And who controls all that data?
Right. There's definitely a tension there.
Yeah. Between using technology to improve lives and potentially creating a society where individual freedom is sacrificed.
Exactly.
It's kind of like giving me those dystopian sci-fi vibes.
I know what you mean.
Where everything seems perfect on the surface, but then underneath there's this creepy undercurrent of control.
It's that balance between progress and freedom that Neom's going to have to figure out.
Yeah. If they can even pull it off.
We'll see.
But I think we're missing one crucial piece of the puzzle here.
Oh.
The economics of it all. Can Neom actually pay for itself? Where's all this money coming from? And what are the risks involved? Okay, so we've talked about the vision, the technology, the potential impact, the ethical dilemmas, but let's be real. Can this thing actually pay for itself?
Right.
Where's all this money coming from?
Well, the initial funding is mostly coming from the Saudi government,
Okay.
their public investment fund.
Right.
But they're also, really trying to woo foreign investors.
So they want to attract businesses and wealthy individuals to this futuristic oasis.
Yeah, exactly.
But what are the incentives? Besides the shiny new tech and, the promise of robot butlers?
Well, they're offering a whole package.
Okay.
Tax breaks,
Right.
relaxed regulations, access to all this amazing infrastructure,
Yeah.
a highly skilled workforce.
So it's kind of like a special economic zone.
Exactly.
Like a futuristic free market in the desert. But is that enough to guarantee success?
It's a gamble, for sure.
Right. I mean, building a city from scratch is one thing, but making it economically viable, that's a whole other challenge.
Definitely.
So what are the potential pitfalls?
Well, one concern is that Neom could just become this enclave for the ultra-wealthy.
Right, like a playground for billionaires
Yeah.
while the rest of the world is struggling with climate change and inequality.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be a good look.
Not really.
And then there's the question of long-term viability. Can Neom really diversify Saudi Arabia's economy? Or will they still be dependent on oil?
That's a key question.
And what if those industries they're betting on, like renewable energy and AI, what if those sectors tank?
Right.
So there's a lot of uncertainty
A
here.
lot of unknowns.
It's a high-stakes gamble on the future.
Right.
And with any gamble, it could pay off big, or it could totally backfire.
That's what makes Neom so fascinating.
Yeah, it's this grand experiment, a test case for a whole new model of urban development. Well, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Neom. We've explored the vision, the technology, the ethical dilemmas, the economic uncertainties. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's a story that's still being written. This grand experiment is unfolding before our eyes, and who knows what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
Will it be a beacon of progress, a blueprint for future cities, or will it be a cautionary tale, a monument to overreach and misplaced ambition?
I guess only time will tell.
It will, but one thing is for sure. Neom forces us to confront some big questions about our relationship with technology, the future of our cities, the balance between progress and responsibility.
Big questions indeed.
And I think it's important for all of us to keep asking those questions as we move forward. What kind of future do we want to create, and how can we use technology to make that future a reality, while also being mindful of the potential risks?
Exactly.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Until next time.